We are now streaming live. Welcome everyone to the August Housing Opportunity Fund meeting. We're glad to have you all. We're going to start this afternoon with roll call. Just a reminder to everyone that ASL interpretation is available. To view that, please pin Joan Stone and Chad Barnett to your screen so that you can follow along. Lena Andrews.
Here.
Hi, Lena.
Hi.
Dr. Jamil Bay.
I'm here.
Welcome, Dr. Bay. Tammy Thompson. I'm not seeing Tammy. Karen Garrett. Karen either. Jerome Jackson has actually resigned his seat from the board. He's pursuing new residency and new work in the North Side. So Jerome will not be with us for this meeting or subsequent meetings. Councilwoman Deb Gross. Mark Masterson.
Here.
Deidre Washington.
Here.
Welcome, Deidre. Marcus Reed. Don't think I see Marcus. Dr. Paul Spradley.
Here.
Thank you, Dr. Spradley. Alan Cisco.
I'm here. Hi, guys.
Welcome, Alan.
Thank you.
Derek Tillman. I don't think that Austere is here today. And we will talk a bit about that later in the meeting. Adrienne Wanaha, I am present. I know I saw Kelly Ware.
I am present.
Thanks, Kelly. Roll call is complete. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes or any adjustments, corrections, additions?
Move to approve.
Thanks, Mark. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Lena. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Anyone in opposition? Okay, great. Minutes have been approved. We unfortunately are in another circumstance where we do not have public comment registered. We really want to, encourage folks to do so. We're going to talk a little later in the meeting about some strategies to potentially get more folks coming to the meetings, whether those are virtual meetings or those are in-person meetings. So we will discuss this a little bit more later in the agenda. So we can actually move on to item letter D.
Great, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Victoria Jackson. I'm a lending analyst with the Residential Lending Department, and I am here to talk to you today about the proposal for Fineview Perry Hilltop Rehab for Home Ownership. City of Bridges Community Land Trust requests construction grant financing in the amount of up to $400,000 to finance the soft costs for the acquisition and renovation of 4 for-sale units included in the Fineview Perry Hilltop Rehab for Home Ownership program. Of the proposed $400,000 grant, $200,000 will be funded by 2022 HOF funds. This $200,000 will need to be approved by this board in order to move forward with seeking approval from the URA board. The remainder of the grant will be sourced with 2020 CDBG funds. The 4 units in this project are located in areas of priority as identified in the Fineview Perry Hilltop Community Plan, completed in collaboration between the Fineview Citizens Council and the Perry Hilltop Citizens Council. While there are 4 units in this project, the 2 specifically targeted for HOF funds are 121 Hawkins Avenue and 240 Kennedy Avenue, both of which are located in the Perry South neighborhood. These 2 units are each slated for a sales price of $185,000 and will be sold to households at or below 80% AMI. All 4 units in the project are anticipated to be completed by June 2024. Per FSDP guidelines, the units will have a 99-year affordability restriction. Additionally, City of Bridges will maintain its own 99-year ground lease and affordability period on the property, ensuring a permanent affordable homeownership opportunity to future homeowners. This project will also utilize a construction loan from First Commonwealth Bank, City of Bridges' own PNC line of credit, a Hillman Foundation grant, and the Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program grant. So once again, we are requesting authorization to enter into a grant agreement with City of Bridges for $200,000 as a part of an overall $400,000 grant commitment to finance the development activities for Fineview Perry Hilltop Rehab for Home Ownership Project. Julie Nigro of City of Bridges is here today to answer any questions you may have about the project. And with that, I will open the floor for questions.
I'd like to note that I have to recuse myself. We actually help with some of the bridge financing on some of the properties.
Any questions for Victoria or Jill?
Julie.
Oh, sorry, Julie.
Yeah. Sorry if I didn't speak that clearly. Sorry.
No, that was probably me.
Hey guys, this is Alan. I just have a quick question. Julie, can you talk a little bit about sort of the like sort of planning and engagement process that went into this project with the Perry Fineview community?
Yeah, sure. Good to see you, Alan.
You too.
Yeah, we've been collaborating for a while, a couple of years with both Fineview and Perry Hilltop Citizens Council. All 4 of these properties are in priority locations that were identified in their master plan. And these specific properties were targeted for redevelopment. So we were able to acquire 121 Hawkins from a owner who was interested in selling to the land trust, and Kennedy we were able to acquire from a foreclosure from a bank. So those 2 are in the Perry Hilltop neighborhood, targeted in the master plan as priority redevelopment areas. They're really kind of around the corner from each other. And then Elsden and Montford, we are going to be acquiring from Rising Tide Partners, but also in pretty good development areas that the community identified.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have one question. What is the process for potential home buyers who want to, in the future, want to potentially have access to purchasing these homes?
Yeah, so hi Aster, by the way. My coworker, Crystal Jennings Rivera, she's the one who leads on all of our potential home buyer outreach. And we work mainly with First Commonwealth Bank and West Banco on mortgage lending. So any low to moderate individual family, as long as they're below 80% of area median income, can work with one of our lending partners to qualify for a mortgage. And Crystal would work with them to get all of their documents in order, as well as with the bank that they're working with. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any additional questions that you would like to pose related to this project?
I have a related question because it was unclear from that last answer. If there are multiple buyers in the community that are interested, what is the selection process? I'm assuming that it will be in high demand in an area that is in demand. So how will multiple buyers, is there a process for identifying or selecting the buyer?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. So we create a kind of separate community, a separate group that's based on members in the community. We work with a community group to select people to form a committee, so to speak. And they would, so if we got, say, 20 applications for these 4 houses, they would look at those 20 applications in a blind review. So they wouldn't be seeing things like race or any type of status like that. But they would be prioritizing certain things that they are looking for in the community. So in the past, some of these committees have prioritized things like someone who already has an existing relationship in the community, whether that be they're already renting in the community or maybe they work in the community. First-time home buyers are sometimes a priority population that the community wants to see. So things like that would be what the committee would, kind of put in their ranking, and we leave that up to the community committee as to what their priorities are for these potential buyers. And then they would look at those applications that we received and score them on that, based on those priorities. And that's how they would kind of get a ranking of their top applicants. And then we would, get in touch with them and see if they're still interested and, if they can get through the mortgage financing process.
Any additional questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve the for sale development program, Fineview Perry Hilltop Rehab for Homeownership project that's been presented today?
I'll make that motion.
Wonderful.
I'll second that. Jamil, second.
I think we need to read, we need
Oh,
to just
yeah.
go back for a quick second and read the full motion, please.
Thank you, Adrian. I will motion for authorization to enter into the for sale development program grant agreement with City of Bridges Land Trust for $200,000 for the renovation of 121 Hawkins Avenue and 240 Kennedy Avenue.
Wonderful, thank you. And we have Dr. Bay seconding that motion. We know that we have Mark abstaining. Do we have any other members of the group that are abstaining on the vote today? Okay, all of those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Thanks, Deirdre. All those opposed? Wonderful, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you all, really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Julie.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kyle Novak, and I work under the consumer and residential lending side, and I help manage the Homeowners Assistant Program, HAP, which is why I'm here today to talk to you about that program. We are coming up on our end of the application period. We are closing the application period as of tomorrow, August 4th, by the end of the business day. Currently, we have processed and reviewed at this time 282 applications, with a bunch still coming in via email or through the mail that we'll be finishing and adding to that list come next week. And we will be accepting email applications until the end of business day tomorrow, and we will accept any mailed applications as long as they are postmarked by August 4th. And then after we close off the application, me and my coworker will be reviewing all of the approved applications and narrowing it down to a list of 80 clients that we'll be able to serve. Are there any questions? Cool. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kyle. I am going to share my screen here to show our 2022 HOF annual report that has been completed, and the mayor's office signed off on it actually a few hours ago. So we are good to go to share that. We'll post it online tomorrow, and I will provide this to all of you as well via email tomorrow also. But just to give you a little snapshot, I wanted to share it really quick. Okay. So let me move your faces out of the way. There we go. So this is the cover page, Unlocking the Future. We have our message from the mayor. Just going to briefly scan through this for everybody. Have an overview of the Housing Opportunity Fund and a message from Sushila, the executive director of the URA. There's several stories throughout about some different projects that have gone through. Talk about all of you and who is on the board. I give a programmatic overview with how many projects were completed for each of the program areas throughout 2022. And then we provide AMI level data and then expenditures and closings, both by amounts and then by the city council districts that they were in. And there is definitely like a key theme throughout the whole report, which is something we liked. So there's a lot of keys throughout the whole thing, which kind of ties into home ownership and somewhere where you live. We had a few spotlight stories, one for the homeowner assistance program, one with Joan King, who received down payment closing cost assistance and also was part of the OMPGH pilot. We also highlighted Gladstone Residences and that project that is ongoing, as well as the Fraser North Residences by OPDC. And then we also included a segment that talks about how we've adapted a lot of the programs to meet the community's needs through a lot of the changes that we've implemented over the last year. And then there's a quote by Kiana and by Adrian as well. Yeah, we're very excited that this was completed and we'll be able to share that with the community. We will have it available for both a printable version that you can have the front and back cover, and then there's a web version as well. So if anybody wants this in one of those particular formats, please let me know and I will be sure to provide that to you in that format.
Thank you so much. I was on the Facebook page just last week, and I was surprised that there isn't a lot more traffic to the URA Facebook page. So to all of our members, if we have not signed up for the URA Facebook page, it is a great resource and there's a lot of good information there, good stories, really seeing dollars in action. So if you haven't done that, please make sure that you take a trip to Facebook and start to follow the URA. You won't regret it.
Thank you for that, Adrian.
So we're going to move on to some committee report outs. There was a lot of activity trying to get meetings set for this month. We're not completely sure who all was able to meet before this meeting throughout July. So if our committee chairs could share any meetings they had, and if meetings were not had, where you are and next steps and dates. If you have those, it would be great.
I can start.
Thanks, Lena.
And I wish I remembered the full name of our committee. It has innovation programs and innovation in it, I think. And we did meet before the last meeting and we reported out at the last meeting and we have not met since then. And I thought we had established a regular meeting date. So I'm going to search my calendar and try to figure out what happened and we'll get back on track before the next meeting.
Thanks, Lena.
Yep.
I don't think Derek's with us. Dr. Spradley?
Hi, we have nothing to share as well, because of a similar reason as Lena, just not been able to get our meeting scheduled yet. But we will, and once we do, it's off to the races.
We know summer is tough. We're all very committed to meetings. So hopefully as we just come to maybe a little bit of a wind down of the summer, we'll see these meetings coming onto the calendar a lot more smoothly. So thank you to our chairs for keeping the enthusiasm alive and engaging with your committee members. Any committee members who have not chosen a committee of interest, it's always the time. So either do some outreach through our group communications, connect with chairs directly, or send something to myself, the URA, and we will make sure everyone gets connected. So it's never too late to join a committee. So as a follow-up, we have very sad news. Austere, would you like to share your news?
Yeah, today is my last day serving on the Housing Opportunity Fund Board. It has been a privilege and an honor to be able to serve the city of Pittsburgh in this capacity. My board seat was as a representative of the URA, and I no longer am employed with them. It's good things, going to another employer. So hopefully we can circle back around on that sometime. But yeah, I'll be leaving. Today is my last meeting, and I hopefully, well, I'll check with Adrian on this. We'll still be serving on the Innovation and Performance Committee as a committee member in that capacity. But it has been, again, an honor and a privilege, and I know there'll be great things going on and suited for the future. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been just a pleasure to have you, and I hope that you are able to continue with the committee. I'm sure that Lena will help to facilitate that, and we will miss you and hope that our paths cross in many different ways going forward. And you are always welcome for public comments. We would love to have you join meetings as we may get back into in-person. So if your schedule and obligations allow, we would love to see you again.
Thank you.
So speaking of in person, we are hoping to, again, as we've talked about in many meetings, go from this more, what sometimes maybe feels a little passive virtual format into a more active format as we did when we first started meeting. So we are still walking through the options for having a physical location. We are hoping that for the September meeting, we will be able to identify, engage a site where we can not only be together as members, but also to have a robust participation from our community. We would like to be able to invite folks to join with us as we start to talk about the New Year's allocations. We really want to make sure that we're facilitating that in lots of good ways. So we are going to be looking for a physical location for September. We've had some folks come forward with potential spaces. What we would need in those spaces is that they're accessible, both physically accessible and accessible by transportation. We would also be looking for a space where we could do our broadcasting from the location. So we would need a space that is, designed for such types of meetings. If any of our members or partners or visitors to the meeting would like to share thoughts about places that we could use, or if you have a space that you think would be great and could help us facilitate something for September, we are all ears.
I'd be happy to consider hosting it. I would just need to kind of see what some of the AV needs would be, but we have a space in our downtown headquarters that could hold the people. The room could be set up, and then, it might be I don't know if it's as simple as putting an external camera on a computer, but I have one of those, and I have a microphone that does a good job of picking up audio in the room. So if that's what we need, if we need more than that, then I might have to pull my that out as a recommendation, but happy to have that conversation.
Well, wonderful. We'll definitely tap back to you and talk about opportunities. That's wonderful. Thank you. Well, if there's no other specific dialogue on that item, I will turn it back to our conversation about the actual allocation plan survey and next steps, as those will be key items for our meeting in September.
Yeah, so the annual allocation plan survey closed on Monday this week. So very excited that we got through that survey period. Also very excited that we received over 600 surveys this year, which I think is one of the highest amounts we've ever received. We had a series of, I believe it was 16 different community events, but it was also promoted at a lot of other events that were not specifically associated with, promoting this survey. Just, any community events where we were out there, we really were talking with the community, telling them how important this is. We did receive probably about 200 paper surveys, excuse me. But I will note that in the paper survey, we really were only able to actually use a smaller percentage of them just because people didn't fill it out appropriately, and things of that nature. So something to think about in the future as we format the survey again to, maybe try to make the paper versions easier in a way that we can make sure we capture everybody's input. But yeah, very excited that we received over 600. We will start analyzing that data probably starting next week. And then we're going to incorporate a lot of the data that's analyzed, which our strategic data and impact department at the URA will be doing in coordination with me. And then from there, we're also going to be including market trends that are happening right now. One of the things we discussed last year was what are the other funds that the URA has available? What are some of the other funding sources and programs that are happening throughout the city that are similar projects? So we're going to incorporate all of that as well in the report. And then that report will be completed prior to our next meeting. And we will share that with everybody, hopefully a week beforehand, so that we can get that out to you. And then we will discuss that in our September meeting. We also had mentioned potentially, as Adrian stated just a short few minutes ago, that we want to have, open discussion with the public in September as well about some of their thoughts on, what they believe should be happening with the budget for next year. And then in October, we will finalize our draft plan. And then in November, we would finalize the plan altogether. And then there would be a month between the October and November meeting for public comment. So that's what the outlook is for the annual allocation plan and the timeline and what we'll be looking at. Does anybody have any questions about any of that as we progress? Okay.
It's going to become a fast and furious season for us, where we're going to have that great opportunity to dig into the surveys, to hear from folks, to start thinking about what those allocations look like, to start to craft those, into more concrete expectations going forward, and, just to continue that public dialogue. So these next few meetings are going to be critical, and we're so excited that you're going to be joining us in that conversation, and I hope everyone is ready for the intensity of allocation time. For our new members, it is a fast and furious process, and we get lots of incredible information. These are great meetings to ask questions, to raise concerns, to try to get input from partners that maybe we haven't heard from throughout the year. So please just be in that mindset of, once the report comes out, how we're really going to translate that into our work for the allocations.
Yeah, and I will note as well, we do request that every single board member, once we get to that point in time, after the report's put out there, everybody's asked to fill out their allocation for the following year. And then just for those of you that are new and maybe didn't do this last year, and then we take an average of those allocations and show you all what your average as a board was. And then we also have a URA recommendation, and then that will generate some of the discussion from there as well about how we will allocate the money for each program. But we'll talk about that more next month, but I just wanted to point that out.
Any questions on the survey or the allocation plan?
Yeah, I have one question, one departing question. Is it possible, I know the SD&I department is really good at, outstanding with data and really understanding how to take that information and use it in a practical way. Is there a possibility in looking at the data to perhaps identify trends, like future trends, or using it in a way that would help with allocation plans rather than kind of saying, hey, this is what happened in 2022, based on the information some other factors, we can not speculate, but see that there is a correlation between these things, and this is how it's kind of trending. So we have so board members kind of have an understanding of what could be future use, because we're often thinking about allocations for a year ahead. So sometimes those needs change, similar to earlier this year when we had to change some of the allocation to allow for more legal support. So I'm just wondering if there's a possibility to kind of pass that note along and maybe think of opportunities for that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can have that discussion with the SD&I department and see, what we're able to do. I will say in terms of trending, last year SD&I was not involved with the survey, but it's something maybe we could look at as well in the data that's presented, kind of looking at what happened the previous year versus this year, and see, if the data is starting to lean one way or another in terms of preferences in the survey. That's something I'll talk with them about. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have programmatic expenditures and updates.
Yes, it is me again. So I did input all of the new allocations that were received for 2023. So that has now been incorporated into these charts that you'll be seeing here today. So if it looks like there's less percentages than there was last month, that's because the 2023 allocations have been included. One note for the small landlord fund, we did close on 2 more projects. So that number jumped up quite a bit from where it was at last month. Excited that, we're getting more applications for those and moving some things forward. Also, we received a bigger data set from Action Housing for this year. So more of the HSP data has been reflected in here as well. And this is what money has been dispersed so far for each of the programs. Again, 2023 allocations have been incorporated in here as well. And I'm just going to go through each program as usual. If anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me as we go through. But this is the down payment closing cost program, percent of funds by council district and AMI level. Legal assistance program, percent of households by council district and AMI. Housing stabilization program, percent of households, again by AMI and council district. Homeowner assistance program. One thing I will note here, we will incorporate the new data once we get the approved list that Kyle had mentioned earlier. So probably next month or the month after, these numbers will start to change quite a bit here on the right-hand side as we incorporate some of the new information that we're given. And there haven't been any changes from last month for the for sale development and rental gap program. So those are the same. And same with the demonstration dollars. This has been unchanged. And that's all I got. Any questions about any of the program expenditures?
Thanks for the presentation. Can you send a copy of this to the board members?
Yes, I will send this after the meeting.
And I'm curious, when we do the allocation plan conversation, if there is a value in showing these again, where the concentrations have been of those funds, just for our thinking, and then also for, planning forward. So we have just a more global sense of where the program dollars seem to be flowing, if there's places that we're missing, if there are underserved communities, we could be having a little bit of that conversation as well. Because these are so helpful each meeting, but they sort of go out of my head each meeting. If there was a way to have them in the atmosphere as we're having these conversations, I think it would be really helpful.
Absolutely. And that's something, maybe I'll try to include some of this information in the report as well. Just so it's kind of all in one place for everybody to look at.
Thank you. Are there any questions, final comments before we know that our next meeting is Thursday, September 7th. We're going to be doing some outreach to Dr. Spradley to talk about potential spaces and follow up on some of our other leads. I'm again really trying to do a bit more outreach for that meeting so we have the opportunity for more public comment. But before we jump into that planning and outreach, are there other items folks would like to talk about for today before we adjourn?
A general question, and I'm not sure if anybody has an answer on the staff. Is there any sense of how the new bond issue proceeds will be playing into, will we still need development project financing, or is that going to be information that we'll have as we get to allocation time?
I think it is information that we'll start to have a better feel on as we get to allocation plan. I think we can also gauge based on what the uncommitted or unspent amount is in some of the development programs, if we wanted to, possibly lessen what an allocation was in the next year to anticipate that some of the new bond funds might also supplement it. There's a conversation to be had there as well.
If there are no other comments or questions, can we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Oh, thank you for the motion. We will definitely miss you. Looking forward to seeing you again. Thanks to everybody for all your great work. If there's any follow-up questions or concerns from this meeting, or folks want to reach out to engage with the committee, please let us know so that we can make those connections for you. So thank you, everyone. Looking forward to September.